to another video. Oh crap, we are going to be reacting to his story videos. So anyways, let's get right on to it. Okay, this is his newest video, so let's watch it.
Me and my idiot best friend Dayon rubbed each other in Vaseline at 7:52 a.m.
And also, by the way, if I smile more than, I don't know why I did, I'm dumb. Anyways, if I smile more than, 7 times, well, never mind. Look, I already subbed. Well, I'm gonna have to subscribe. So, anyways, if I smile or laugh more than 7 times, I'm gonna have to subscribe again. So let's get right on to it.
Me and my idiot best friend Dayon rubbed each other in Vaseline at 7:52 a.m. because we were going to be late to work. There were no buses running, and even though we were 40 years old, neither of us had our driver's license yet. I turned to him. This is going to work. All we have to do is slide down the road and get to work on time. Otherwise, we're going to be fired. Dayon was already laying on his belly and putting on his game face. In just seconds, we were gliding down the street like 2 idiot penguins on ice. Dayon and I started...
I think that counts as a laugh. So like, okay, that's 1 point. You have to subscribe if I laugh more than 6 other times. Okay.
Cheering with both our mouths wide open because it looked like we were actually going to make it on time, until I looked up and saw a pile of dog poop the size of a beanbag chair. I screamed, "Watch out!" and we both grabbed at a street pole to stop ourselves from gliding into it. But the Vaseline was so slippy, we slid off the pole, and we both landed right into the dog poop, mouths first. My mouth watered in disgust because it was in my teeth. It was in Dayon's hair, everywhere. I instantly stood up, spitting in disgust. Dayon wiped his eyes with his one clean knuckle. We're screwed. I looked up to see if there was a bathroom nearby, but then I saw we were right in front of our work, and my watch said it was 7:58 a.m. I shook poop off my right hand and helped Dayon up. If we don't walk in now, we're fired anyway. So we pushed inside and punched the clock 1 minute early. When our boss came out of his office, he froze, and I expected him to fire us. His eyes widened. "What the?" Dayon wiped his mouth and spoke quickly. The bus never came, so we greased up and slid here, and it was great until we ran into dog poop. But sir, we're on time. He stared at us for a long time. Then his face went soft. "Everyone upstairs told me to fire you both 2 months ago because they told me you weren't committed to the job." He pointed at the brown trail we'd dragged across his floor. "But this is the most committed thing I have ever seen." He smiled. "I knew I was right. You're not uncommitted. You're just idiots. But you both make this job a nicer place to be in, so I'm never firing you." I stood there covered in dog poop,
feeling go to the bathroom, so peace back.
Feeling more appreciated than I ever had in my life. Dayon put his hand up for a high five, but our hands slid right off each other. Me and my idiot best friend, I just marked 3,039 days on the wall of the group home when a couple came in and actually made eye contact with me. The husband was wearing Lilo and Stitch shorts, and I pointed at them. "That's my favorite movie. Ohana means nobody gets left behind." The wife giggled and hugged me. I almost cried because it was the first time anyone had held me in years. She whispered, "We'll be coming back for you." When she left, my social worker squeezed my shoulder. "Don't get your hopes up. You're almost 12. Couples usually want someone younger," but I clenched my fists because I needed him to be wrong. A week later, they came back with a jumbo-sized Lilo and Stitch. I jumped up because it was the first time anyone had given me a gift before. "Thank you, miss." "Thank you, sir," the man smiled. "Call us mom and dad." The woman nodded. "We'll be signing the documents for adoption over the next few weeks. Soon we'll be a family." When I went to sleep that night, I dreamt about all of us eating dinner at the kitchen table together, maybe with a dog, eating food that was actually fresh. But when visitation time came a week later, they never showed up. I blinked back my tears and tried to tell myself that something came up, but the social worker immediately walked over to me. "Been working this job for 10 years, kid. Seen this 1,000 times. Better to accept that parents either want to adopt..."
Oh my goodness. I just laughed. Why am I laughing? What if the die? What if they die? I don't know why I'm laughing, but I am 5 steps away from subscribing back.
Babies or have children, that's it. I crumpled the Lilo and Stitch card I'd made for them while tears stung my eyes. Weeks passed and I started stealing and acting like the other kids in the group home. I took from people's bags when they weren't looking. I walked around with a black hoodie and stopped smiling. When I blew out the candle alone on my 12th birthday, I didn't wish for a family. I wished to stop wanting one. And right as the birthday candle fumes filled the room, the door burst open. It was the couple, and they were holding the signed documents. I ran to hug them before I even processed what was going on. The man cried, "I lost my job 2 days before we were meant to sign the documents. The state froze the adoption, and there was nothing we could do." His wife stepped forward. "We never changed our minds. We never stopped thinking about you." The social worker set the folder down, and I signed before anyone could stop me. Weeks later, during the court hearing, my mom and dad walked into court in a full Lilo and Stitch costume, waving both blue arms at me. That night in my new room, he handed me a marker, and I marked day 1 on the wall. I just marked 3,039 days on the wall of the group. Dante shoved me into the dirt after school and told me to get up so he could do it again. Kids came running from every direction while he stood over me cracking his knuckles one at a time, and I scrambled backwards until my shoulders hit the flagpole. I had nowhere left to go, so I closed my eyes and braced for 6'6" of pure muscle to snap me in half. But instead of ending it, he yanked me up by the collar. Talk to her. She's mine. He threw me back in the dirt and turned to dust his hands off for the crowd. "Shoulda kept your head down watching your stupid kung fu movies, you little geek." The whole circle laughed with him, and something in me snapped, because all of this was over one conversation with a girl at lunch.
I laughed again. 4 more times.
I'd never thrown a punch in my life, but I spat out the dirt, pulled myself up that flagpole, and said the words that almost got me killed. "I'll talk to whoever I want." The laughing stopped dead, and Dante turned around slower than I'd ever seen him move. Say that again. He ripped his backpack off and threw it into the crowd, cracking his neck while every phone came out, and I did the math. Dante hadn't lost a fight in 2 years, and every kid who tried him made the same mistake. They swung first. My legs were shaking so bad that the flagpole was the only thing holding me up. But if those stupid kung fu movies taught me anything, it was that you can't fight fire with fire, so I had to be like water. I wasn't going to swing. I was going to let Dante beat Dante. I dropped my head like he told me to, and that's when I saw it. His right shoelace was untied, dragging in the dirt, and he had no clue. I needed him too mad to look down, so I lifted my head, leaned around him, and blew the girl from lunch a kiss. She giggled into her hand, and Dante's fists curled so tight his knuckles cracked. "Come on then, you waiting for a bell?" I shook an invisible bell. Ding ding. He came at me like a bull out of a chute, and I planted my feet, because if I was wrong about that shoelace, I was about to get folded in half. His left foot came down right on that loose lace, and his next step never landed. 6'6" of pure muscle pitched forward, and all I did was take one step to the side. His head hit the flagpole so hard the rope clanged, and he dropped face first into the dirt like a sack of flour, and the circle went silent. I never even touched him. Dante, the kid who hadn't lost a fight in 2 years, got knocked out by Dante. The place exploded, and every phone that came out for my beatdown caught his instead. The girl pushed through the crowd, stepped over him, and took my arm. We got 3 steps before I stopped and bent down to make sure my laces were tied. I double knotted them just in case. Dante shoved me into the... My dad stood up. Dante shoved...
Fire.
My dad stood over my bed. "You can skip school today, if you come to work with me instead." 5-year-old me instantly jumped out of bed, even though I had no idea what my dad's job was. Yes, yes, yes. He passed me a ski mask, and I followed him to the car with no idea what to expect. We drove past houses, and I pointed at the boarded-up windows. "Where are we going, Daddy?" He spoke through gritted teeth. "Don't ask me any more questions, son." Beads of sweat came down my face, but I nodded because I didn't want my dad to be mad at me. He parked behind a house with cages on the windows, and when we got out, he pulled a huge black duffel bag out of the trunk. He hung the strap over my shoulder. "I need you to knock and give this to them, son. I can't be seen here. This job's better for you anyway." My knees were trembling, and I didn't want to do it anymore. But before I could say anything, my dad was already watching from behind the corner, so I dragged the duffel bag up the stairs. When I knocked, the biggest man I'd ever seen opened the door. I waved. "My daddy has this delivery for you. He's around the corner." He unzipped the bag without a word and stared inside. "Is that it?" it. My heart started pounding with adrenaline because he was staring at me with daggers in his eyes. He immediately grabbed his phone to dial 911, and I felt my dad's hand closed around my arm. Run, buddy, as fast as you can. Now, my dad was sprinting down the block, so I followed him while my ankles ached. Why are we running, Daddy? He didn't answer, and the sirens behind us kept getting louder. Ahead was an alley, skinny and dark. He stopped running. He turned around and ran towards me. I'm sorry, son. I love you. I want you to remember that grown-ups sometimes do bad things, but it's never their children's fault. I wanted to ask what he meant, but he ran down the alley as the cop cars pulled up. An officer held me tight with tears in his eyes. You shouldn't have had to go through that. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to know where my daddy was. My dad stood. My dad stood.
Oh. Oh, where is here?
My dad shook me awake at 4 a.m. on a school night, frantically telling me to get out of bed and come to the living room right now. I shot up still half asleep, but Dad was already bolting downstairs. I followed him, my heart pounding because this felt wrong. Dad sat me in a chair and pulled me to the TV. Mortal Kombat was loaded up. I finally unlocked all the characters, son. I really want to play with you using them. He tossed me a controller with the widest grin and sat next to me, but I groaned because he'd made me believe something was wrong. I have school tomorrow, Dad. I need to sleep. I put the controller down and stood up, but then he put his hand on my shoulder. You're not going to school, kid. You're playing Mortal Kombat with me. My face lit up, and before I could respond, Dad pulled 2 pizza boxes and lemonade from behind the couch. So what do you say? School or fun with your dad? I instantly plopped down and grabbed my controller while he loaded up the game, smiling. I used every character he unlocked, and when the sun came up and the school bus drove by our house, me and Dad were still playing. The only danger around was having too much fun. My dad shook me awake at 4.
Oh, what? Dang. I wish I was him.
I was in class making my robotic arm clench a fist just by thinking about it when the
Yo. If I tried that robotic arm, I'm stealing it. I really. That looks so cool.
biggest bully in school snatched it off and held it out of reach. Cool toy, it's mine now. He looked at both my empty sleeves and smirked. What are you gonna do? Grab it with your nubs, loser. I stood up, shoved him until he dropped it, and clicked it back into place. It's not a toy. This is my arm. The recess bell rang, and his face twisted with anger. We'll finish this at recess. My stomach dropped, because I knew he meant it, but I wasn't letting him take it. I walked into recess with my fist clenched, ready for him. He came straight at me, ripped my arm off my shoulder, and when I reached for it with my nub, he slapped me with my own arm and shoved me into the dirt. You don't deserve this arm like I do. The whole playground laughed. He slid my arm onto his own and held it up. This is mine now. Nobody can beat me. And for the first time, I let his words get to me and felt defeated. But then he turned on the little kids, chasing them and grabbing them by the collar with my hand while they cried. When one boy tripped, the bully stood over him and raised my fist to hit him. So I got up and shoved him with my nubs. That's not yours. Leave him alone. The playground went silent because I had no hands and no way to fight him. He let the boy go, grabbed my collar, and pulled his fist back. Everyone waited for me to get destroyed, but I just smiled because he had no idea what he was holding. He swung my arm to punch me, but it yanked backward and stopped. He stared at it, confused. Why'd it do that? Obey me. Punch him. But I smiled harder because I control my arm with my thoughts. I clenched my nub and my fist flew back and cracked him in his own nose. Then I made him slap himself, shove himself into the dirt, and grab his
Let's laugh. I think 3 more times.
own collar. Exactly what he did to me. The whole playground erupted. The little kids he'd terrorized laughing the loudest. Stop! You belong to me! He cried, punching my arm as hard as he could to knock it off. But it's metal, so he just shattered the bones in his own hand and dropped to his knees, screaming. I calmly picked my arm up and clicked it back on. You just got rocked by a kid with no hands, loser. I was in class making my robotic. The class clown tried to hypnotize the meanest teacher in school. You're getting very sleepy. Mrs. Vaughn snatched the pendulum mid-swing. One more word, and you're suspended. My eyes widened, because if he made another teacher quit too, he'd probably get expelled. But Dante turned to the class like he didn't even care. Should I tell her what happened yesterday when I hypnotized her? I had no idea what he was talking about, but kids all around me started nodding, and Mrs. Vaughn put her hands on her hips. What are you talking about? Dante smirked. You knelt down and swore loyalty to me in front of...
Guys, I need to plug my phone up. Okay, anyways, okay, I finally got my charger hooked up.
Everybody, you said I was a king. I pinched myself to stop myself from laughing, and I realized none of this ever happened. The whole class was just backing up his lie to break her. But then she pointed straight at me, because I was the only kid she actually trusted. Tell them the truth. My heart started pounding with adrenaline, because if I lied, I'd get in trouble with Dante. But if I told the truth, the whole class would hate me. You bowed down to him, miss. You told him you'd do anything for him. Her face went red, but before she could scream at me, Dante took out his phone. I have proof. He walked to the front of the class, took the black wire connected to the projector, and plugged it into his phone. On the big screen, we watched as Mrs. Vaughn got on her knees and actually bowed down to Dante. You're my king, my lord. I would do anything for you. I was so shocked I couldn't even breathe, because I hadn't expected him to make an AI video just to annoy Mrs. Vaughn. The entire class was banging on their desks, laughing. Mrs. Vaughn instantly grabbed the wall phone to call the principal. My entire body tensed up because I thought we were all going to be suspended. And when the principal walked in, Mrs. Vaughn pointed a shaking hand at the projector. Look what Dante made. He's destroying my reputation with lies. I held my breath, but the principal took one look at Dante and went pale. He leaned into her ear to whisper, and the room was so quiet, we heard every word. I fought him last year about this, and the board didn't do anything because they couldn't prove the video was fake. Just say you remember. It's easier. I gasped, because even the principal couldn't save her, because Dante had gotten to him too. Mrs. Vaughn looked around, and Dante snapped his fingers. And you're awake from my hypnotic spell. She closed her eyes and said it through her teeth. Welcome back, my lord. The class clown tried to hypnotize the meanest teacher in school. You're getting very
Anyways, what? One more time. I hope to subscribe again.
I got an emergency call that a robbery was in progress, so I rushed over to the store, my hands on my holster. The owner immediately pointed at the homeless man sitting on the floor in the corner of his store. That filthy beggar was robbing me, he spat. Arrest him. I walked towards the man and noticed the scrunched up bouquet of flowers in his lap. I asked him if he'd really been stealing, and he looked up. It's my wife's birthday. She's homeless out here with me, and I had no money to get her flowers. My chest tightened because his entire face was bruised, but the owner was already leaning over my shoulder. He reached down and snatched the flowers out of the man's lap. Here's what I think of your wife. He spat on the bouquet and dropped it onto the floor. I was shocked, but the homeless man instantly pushed himself up to his feet. Don't you ever talk about my wife. The owner spun to me instantly, pointing. See? He's aggressive. He just threatened me. Arrest him right now. I realized the situation was escalating, so I put a hand up and told everyone to calm down, but the owner was starting to get on my nerves. I asked the man how he got the bruises on his face, and the owner smirked. That was me. I made sure to really hit hard when I saw this piece of filth stealing. He said it proudly, and because I was homeless once, I'd reached my limit. So you assaulted him. That's a crime, and you're under arrest. His face dropped as I reached for my cuffs. He shoved me back hard. You're not arresting me. Arrest him and his wife for existing around me. But I closed the gap and grabbed his wrist. I'll charge you for assault of an officer too if you're not careful. The homeless man put his hand on my shoulder. Nobody's ever taken my side before. I nodded and walked the owner out while he cursed at us. But as I shoved him into my cruiser, I saw the homeless man handing the flowers to his wife on the corner, and beside them, there was a homeless little girl, mouthing, "Happy birthday, mommy." My heart genuinely shattered, so I decided to go buy them a birthday cake out of the owner's wallet. He watched helplessly, red in the face as I handed it to them. I got an emergency call that a robber. I was showing the new girl Melody how to work the ticket register when my coworker Ben leaned over her shoulder. "Sweetheart, you might want to ask to be trained by someone who isn't an idiot." Melody's eyes darted between us, like she wasn't sure if this was a joke, and I gave her a small smile. "It's okay, you're doing great." She waited until he walked off before asking, "Are you seriously okay with him talking to you like that?" I just shrugged. I just ignore it. I'd stood up for myself once before and gotten written up for creating a hostile work environment, so I'd learned to keep my mouth shut a long time ago. This was just the usual around here, so I didn't expect today to be any different. An hour later, I was walking Melody through the weekly movie schedule when Ben launched a handful of popcorn at the back of my head from across the concession stand. Kernels rained down onto the counter and stuck in my hair. Oopsie, my hand slipped. Our coworker Jacob laughed so hard he cried. I sighed and started picking them out one by one, because getting mad had never once gotten me anywhere here. Later, when I was mopping the lobby floor between showings, a line of customers forming for the next movie, Jacob walked by and tipped his soda straight onto the section I'd just finished. Oops, Ben doubled over, slapping the counter. A few customers in line started staring, and my face went hot with embarrassment, but there was nothing.
Seriously, now. First, we have to finish watching this, and then I'm gonna end the video. And I'm gonna have to subscribe. So, history. Never mind.
I could do about it in front of all of them, so I just mopped the same spot again. Melody's hands curled into fists at her sides, but she didn't say a word. She waited until we were alone restocking the popcorn machine. Why don't you report them to HR? I shook my head. I did, twice. Turns out the HR rep and Jacob went to the same college. Melody didn't say anything, just kept refilling the machine. Her jaw, as afternoon, the front door chimed and the owner walked in. Melody's whole face lit up, and I had no idea why some random customer would make her look like that. Hi, Dad. I'm glad you're here because we have some things to talk about. My stomach dropped. The girl I'd spent the entire day training, the one who just watched Ben and Jacob humiliate me over and over, was the owner's daughter, and she'd seen every second of it. She walked him through exactly what she'd seen all day, and he turned to Ben and Jacob. You're both done. Grab your things. I felt months of tension leave my shoulders all at once. He turned to me next, already reaching out his hand. Thank you for training my daughter right through all of that. How does assistant manager sound? I was showing the new...
Yo, now I have to subscribe again. In his story, you're actually the best storyteller in the world. And actually, before we end this video, let's watch this new one.
I wrote, "Tell Mom I loved her," in my best shaky handwriting and left the note on my pillow, my hands still shaking from thinking about the drill sound from my last cavity filling. My dentist appointment was in an hour, and faking my own death seemed like a better plan than just telling Mom I was scared and asking to reschedule. I ran and hid in the garage, waiting to see what would happen. My little sister found the note first and screamed so loud that my mom came running. Check the bathroom, then check outside. I panicked and doubled down, dragging my bike helmet and one shoe out to the backyard, leaving them by the fence like I'd been dragged off somewhere. Then I climbed into the treehouse to watch. My dad found the shoe and went pale, pulling out his phone. Someone kidnapped him. I'm calling the police. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. I hadn't thought this far ahead, and now my sister was sobbing, and my dad's thumb was hovering over the call button. I genuinely didn't know if I should come clean or keep hiding so I wouldn't have to get back in that dental chair. Then my mom climbed up the treehouse ladder and glared right at me. You have 60 seconds to come down before we call the police for real. Let's go. My mouth fell open. You knew? She laughed. Of course I did. I saw the note before your sister. I just wanted to see how far you'd take it. My dad was laughing so hard behind her he had to lean on the fence. I climbed down in silence, and we drove to the dentist with my sister glaring at me from the back seat the whole way there. I wrote, "Tell Mom I love..."
Yo. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe for part 2. I'm not forced to do so. Peace.